I've had an unusually large number of rage-filled comments to my most recent videos, and so I've decided it's time to address those folks. In this video, I'm going to first address the ragers, and then address a couple of non-raging issues and comments that viewers have brought up. Hello, I'm John Foster. I'm a medical doctor who does Social Security disability exams, and as usual, everything I say reflects my own opinions based on my own experience and study, and not the opinions of the Social Security Administration or any other medical body. Now, the number one reason I get rage-filled comments is because I happen to mention a Social Security Administration rule or policy that people feel is unfair, and then they get mad at me. I've said over and over again in my videos that I don't make Social Security's rules. I simply try to educate people involved in the disability process because I believe that if they understand the rules and procedures, it will help them in their disability application and they'll have a better chance of being approved. Also, I've mentioned that I don't agree with every single rule and procedure that the Social Security Administration has made, and that if people really want something changed, the way to go about that is to write your senators, congressperson, and the commissioner of the Social Security Administration. Not one raging commenter has ever written a letter. If you can't make an effort to improve Social Security services and you simply vent useless rage at me in the comments, your comments are not useful or constructive. And my new policy is anybody who does so will be hidden from the channel. When that happens, all of your comments are removed. You can't make any more comments, but you can still watch videos. The only exception will be for people who leave an angry comment, but indicate that they have made the effort to send at least one letter in the hopes of getting things changed. And let me tell you, it is possible to change things. There is a nervous system condition called amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, also known as ALS or Lou Gehrig's disease, and folks with this condition lobbied Social Security successfully. They get special consideration, more consideration than other people with serious nervous system diseases such as stroke or multiple sclerosis get. The number two raging comment that I get is the somewhat paranoid notion that I set out to disprove that people have whatever condition they say they have, and to try and indicate in my reports that there's nothing wrong with them. And this is actually the inverse of the truth. Like anyone else, I like to have a smooth and easy day. And for me, the easiest thing to do is to get a person who tells me about their medical problems, and then I examine them, and it's obvious they have those medical problems, and then I write my report. An example would be a person who comes in and says they've had a stroke. They're weak and numb on one side of their body. I examine them. They are weak and numb on one side of their body, and they have certain medical signs on their exam that are impossible to act or pretend that indicate they've had a stroke. Those are some of the easiest cases that I see. It is far more difficult for me when a person comes in, says they have a condition, and then I can't find any signs of it. because before I put in a report that a person doesn't have the condition they claim they have, I want to be as sure as I can possibly be. And that means taking a great deal of time and care to be certain that I'm not missing anything. Let me give you an example. A lot of people who tell me they have conditions that they actually don't have are talking about autoimmune conditions. There's an autoimmune condition called scleroderma. The hallmark is stiffening of the skin. I've seen more than a couple of people tell me they have scleroderma for Social Security exams, and I examine them and they did not have it. In fact, every single person who's come to me for a Social Security exam who said they had scleroderma did not. In the description of this video below, I'm going to leave a link to a very good video by a professor of medicine at Stanford Medical School that I watched this past week, who's an expert on scleroderma and talks about the criteria for diagnosing scleroderma and shows a patient with the condition. And I was quite pleased to see that I was correct. All of the people I examined who claimed to have scleroderma had none of the indications that this professor describes. The next non-raging comment I got was about Social Security Form 3373, also known as Function Report Adult. I've mentioned this before in other videos, but I think it would be useful to go over this again. This is your golden opportunity to explain to Social Security why you are disabled. Keep in mind that Social Security Administration personnel are overworked. I'm sure they go through many of these reports a day, so you want to make their job easy. I read a lot of these reports, and far too often they're useless. The number one reason is they're handwritten and I can't make out the handwriting. Get yours typed. Number two is that they provide no useful, understandable information. Here's a typical example. A person writes, I have 2 herniated discs in my low back, so I can't do anything. I spend my time eating and lying on the couch and watching TV. Does that give you a picture of what's wrong with this person? It doesn't me. Here is a far more useful example because it's specific and it's understandable. I have 2 herniated discs in my low back. They cause constant back pain. I can lift 5 to 10 pounds okay. 10 to 20 pounds maybe 2 or 3 times a day. If I lift anything heavier, my back hurts so bad that I know I'm going to have to lie down all the next day. Does that give you a clear picture of what's wrong with this person? It does me. You can use as many extra pages as you want, and I suggest that you think of every single part of your body, and then anything that limits your ability to work, put that down. This also applies to the paranoid idea that I'm trying to prove there's nothing wrong with people. Every single day I do disability exams, I find work-related limitations and disabilities that the person didn't even mention, and I put those in my report. The last day I did exams, I found 3 people who had important work-related limitations that they didn't even mention. 2 of them had problems with shoulder movement, and they'd had it for a long time, and it simply didn't come to mind when they applied for disability. Social Security considers the ability to lift both hands above your head and work lifting or carrying things above your head to be important. I can't remember what the third patient had, but they did have a significant limitation that I only discovered when I examined them. Put down every single limitation you have. Even if it's your left pinky finger that doesn't work right, put it in your Form 3373. The next comment was several rage-filled comments when I described what Social Security considers a simple entry-level job. People told me that I didn't know what an entry-level job was, that their job was harder, that there were no jobs similar to the ones I described available in the United States. Well, again, here's the facts. Social Security employs people called vocational experts to help with the disability process. If you appeal a denial and you're heard in an administrative law court, a vocational expert will be involved in your claim. These vocational experts are supposed to know all of the jobs that are commonly available throughout the United States and what the physical and mental abilities necessary to perform each of those jobs are. Now, I don't go to administrative law court and I don't testify in administrative law court. Disability attorneys who take Social Security disability claims are involved in administrative law court all the time. It's their bread and butter. And they are very familiar with the judges and the vocational experts. The information I got was from attorneys who've been doing this for decades. Again, you can get upset at the rules, but I didn't make them. And if you want the rules changed, complaining in my comment section will achieve nothing. The final complaint is a non-raging complaint, and it is about how do you obtain a copy of your CE report. A CE is a consultative examination done by an independent doctor who's not a Social Security employee, and that's what I am, and that's what I do. People sometimes ask me to get a copy of my report. And the rules are I am not supposed to give a copy of my report to the person I examined. That's because there is no doctor-patient relationship. The doctor who does your CE exam is not treating you. Really, they're treating the Social Security Administration. The Social Security Administration is their patient, not you. However, it is possible to get a copy of your CE report. Look at the last page of the letter you were sent that set up your CE exam. Nobody ever reads that whole letter in my experience. That last page is for you to get a copy of the report. Here's what you need to do. Fill out that page and mail it to Social Security. You have to include the name and address of one of your treating doctors. Social Security will send the report to that doctor, not to you, and then you can obtain a copy from that doctor. I send my reports to Social Security within 5 business days of examining the person I've seen. I can't speak for other doctors. Well, I hope this has been helpful, and as always, remember, if it happens, it's possible.